Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog, where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzWeaver channel. That includes things like current events, headlines that are in the news, pop culture, social media, technology, and items of interest that come up during the week that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue. I want to thank all of you guys on Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute for your guys' continued support. Thank you for the follows, and of course everyone here on YouTube for your guys' likes and shares. All of this helps contribute to the channel here in 2022 as we show the algorithm that conservative commentary is very welcome here on YouTube.
We start things off from the New York Times. U.S. officials repeatedly urged China to help avert war in Ukraine. Americans presented Chinese officials with intelligence on Russia's troop buildup in hopes that President Xi Jinping would step in, but were repeatedly rebuffed. Over 3 months, senior Biden administration officials held half a dozen urgent meetings with top Chinese officials in which the Americans presented intelligence showing Russia's troop buildup around Ukraine and beseeched the Chinese to tell Russia not to invade, according to U.S. officials. Now, if you are a subscriber to the BuzWeaver channel and have been for the last 4 years, or maybe you're a new subscriber, or maybe you're on Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute, you guys know that we specifically cover areas of China, and we always mention that the cultural differences are very significant and very important for the West to understand the way that not just China, but countries in Europe and of course the UK and even Canada, even though these are nations with very similar attributes to the United States or Western values or ideologies and philosophies, very similar, not identical of course, share some of those values, they are still a different culture, and they still approach things very differently, particularly China, who is xenophobic, communist, and exercises the most stringent of authoritarianism. Let me just remind everyone, if this is your first time here to the BuzWeaver channel, welcome. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you guys can continue to get this type of conservative commentary as we show the YouTube algorithm that this type of commentary is welcome on YouTube and should not be suppressed. So thank you for your support. World Health Organization WHO. Preliminary investigations conducted by the Chinese authorities have found no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the novel sea illness identified in Wuhan, China. That's right. China will resort to any measure possible to save face, because face is like their cultural hierarchy, or I should say, face is their highest virtue in China. And if they lose face, it is an embarrassment and a humiliation, and they will do anything they can. Change wording, change ideology, change philosophy, change media, use their propaganda. Whatever they have to do, they will change it. Now, remember, we talked about this with the Olympics. Every person that went to the Olympics, whether it's an athlete, a dignitary, a spokesperson, whoever went to China, not from China, had to download an app on their phone. If they wanted to contact the outside world or use their social media, they had to go through this app that monitored everything they had, and there was a slew of different word filters there to ensure that anything that went out, of course, was going to be approved by the CCP. China asked Russia to delay invasion until the end of the Olympics, or end of Olympics. Now, as you can see here, this is from The Hill. Okay, this isn't a right-wing periodical here, okay? Senior Biden administration officials and a European official told the New York Times that there was an intelligence report that said China asked Russia to delay its invasion of Ukraine until after the Olympics. Gee, I wonder how China knew about this. China says it is willing to mediate between Russia and Ukraine after saying it deeply regretted the war and sign that Beijing's support for Putin is wavering. Now, what's happening is China is hedging its bets. They're trying to figure out who's going to come out the strongest. Now, of course, remember, we've talked about this before. President Trump was given a lot of grief because of the way he dealt with China, the way he dealt with Kim Jong-un, the way he dealt with Russia. But he was dealing with it from a position of strength. They said he was oafish and brass and a bull in a china cabinet and just elbows and elbows and spikes and spit and venom. But the thing is, these countries understand strength. And clearly, with Joe Biden in office, what happened? Russia invaded Ukraine. China has seemingly offered to mediate ceasefire negotiations between Ukraine and Russia aimed at strongest comments yet over the conflict. It may be fair to say that China is hedging its bets would have been the simplest way to have phrased that particular sentence. So from The Sun, we see here, fall of Kherson. Russian seizes first Ukraine city, Kherson, as mayor begs Putin not to kill more civilians. Now, hopefully that's not going to get censored by YouTube. But as you can see here, Russia is stepping things up. Now, as of this recording, it is Thursday. So things may change, things may ramp up, and I can follow up on some additional content on Friday. So, excuse me, guys. I had to clear my throat there. So, from the New York Post, Zelensky gives Boris Johnson shopping list of weapons needed to defeat Russians. And just as a side note here, Poppy Lee Burrows 11 spent 6 years growing out her hair to donate. How sweet. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky presented UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson with a shopping list of arms needed to defeat Russian troops, with more British anti-tank missiles shipped over almost daily. Now, that's good that this is happening because, of course, as you know, the NATO nations aren't supposed to be involved, but it may be fair to say at this point, with the sanctions and everything that's going on against Russia and supplying Ukraine with all these particular arms, NATO is already involved. I think in the simplest understanding of it is exactly what's happened. Johnson said the latest batch of weapons would be flown to Poland and driven into Ukraine within hours of days. Now, you can go about this however you want. You can fly it into Poland however you want. Now, of course, Belarus is still kind of in play here. We're not entirely sure what Belarus is going to do. That's something that we can continue to take a look at. But nonetheless, of course, as you can see, some of the NATO nations, like the UK and the United States, are finding ways to supply Zelensky with weapons that he may need. And that's understandable considering the situation. From The Hill, Russia wants list of weapons that will never be deployed in Ukraine, Lavrov says. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Wednesday said Russia is demanding Ukraine demilitarize and will write a special list of which weapons the nation cannot possess. Well, I think that list is going to be very short. That's going to be weapons from the UK and weapons from the United States and our weapons from any NATO nation that will destroy their tanks and vehicles and impede their invasion to take over Kiev. I think that's kind of clear here, considering that there's an interesting demand for particular weapons, as we mentioned here, that Zelensky is looking for, and of course the Russians don't want them to have them. And it may be fair to say that NATO has already been involved, so Russia could implicate NATO and implicate these nations in saying that they are violating NATO agreements and international law and any number of things. And of course at the same time, particular security councils and others are trying to suggest that Russia has violated particular rules of engagement in war as well, which is interesting because it's war. And I wanted to point this out too, because one of the things that we keep having a conversation about, and I could not actually believe that someone said this, but during a discussion with someone in Twitter, they actually said the reason that Russia didn't invade during President Trump's administration was because he was a puppet of Putin, which is the most ridiculous thing. And I showed a list in the previous video, in one of the videos, 52 policies that President Trump implemented against Russia. It's just their defense. They're continuing to be on the defensive, and it's just sad. And this should be something that is punctuated to everyone. So be sure you share this video with your friends on social media and those still asking and questioning what's going on with this war. Politico. Putin was playing Biden all along. This is Politico, okay? I just want everyone to know this is Politico. This isn't Fox News, all right? This isn't Newsmax. This is Politico. The U.S. president and his aides thought they could manage Putin. Their calculations were dead wrong. For more than 2 decades, Joe Biden has disliked and distrusted Vladimir Putin, even claiming the Russians didn't have a soul. How about that? A continuing assault that they do because they smear, they humiliate, they try to undermine, they try to get anyone and everyone to hate all the people that they hate. And it's just sad. And we talked about this often. And yet, for the past year, Biden tried repeatedly to reason with the steely-eyed strongman and didn't work. And we talked about that. Remember what Biden said in that tweet that I showed you guys? The reason Putin hasn't done anything or invaded Ukraine is because I've gone toe-to-toe with Vladimir Putin. Well, you went toe-to-toe and you lost. And the Chinese can see it too, and the world can see it. And the State of the Union address was just sad. I mean, it was so many conservative and Trumpisms that they're calling it a Diet MAGA speech, which is quite interesting, which really triggered the left. But if you think about some of the things that Biden said during that speech, it is very indicative of conservatives, Republicans, and even Trumpisms made in America. How about that? So there you have it. The U.S. officials repeatedly urged China to help avert war in Ukraine. The title should be, the U.S. gave China everything it needed to know to be able to help Russia. And that's what I have for you guys on this Friday.
All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the comments. For all of you on BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey, I appreciate your guys' support. And of course, below this video, you can find the various social media links that you guys can see my daily post on. And of course, all of you here on YouTube, thank you so very much for all of your guys' support here in 2022. And appearing there on the screen, that would be the channel icon that you can click on to subscribe, as well as select notifications. That way you know when there's content here on the channel. And I'll see all you guys right there behind that camera next Friday.